Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at yet another wonderful mod, this time in the form of SM Marine, which is being made by forum user Spanner Monkey. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is boat parts. And what can I say, after we looked at the search and rescue mod last week, I've kind of been in a nautical mood, and thankfully in came SM Marine to fulfill that need with a whole slew of new boat hulls, command bridges, radio towers, and oh, so much more. So let's just jump right on into the spaceplane hangar and have a gander at what all this does add into the game. And, well, frankly, it's a lot of parts. A whole lot of parts, but thankfully Spanner Monkey has taken advantage of the manufacturer criteria here so that we can just type into the search bar SM Marine, and there we are. We have all of the bits and bobs for this mod, and as you can see, it's gonna take us a little bit. In fact, I'm not gonna go through each part as in detail as I normally do to try and get through these a bit more quickly. So let's get started, and we're actually gonna skip down to the bottom first to take a look at the hulls. Now, unlike some of the other boat mods out here, these are entire hulls in one go. From stem to stern, you got the whole thing. So here we have the Z2 hull, which you can see does have in it a generator, RCS rather, ballast, which will help you make the whole thing heavier, electric charge, air intake, and liquid fuel, all useful things. And it's a pretty big boat, as you can see right here. Not exactly the most impressively textured, but hopefully that will improve in the future. As for the modeling, I quite like it. I think it looks very good for a nice ship. And of course, you know me, I'm a sucker for opening parts and animations, and we have a bay that we can open in the back that does have its own independent lights on the inside, so you could perhaps launch a small plane from the back of this thing and would be quite useful. Now, if we hit new, we then have the Z2B hull, which is basically, you know, the same thing as the last one, just bigger. Much bigger, as you can see here. And of course we have the same deal in the back with this thing opening up, the lights on the interior, and similar specs on the different stats here, just in higher numbers. We then have another model, which is the Z5 VLS hull, which is my personal favorite of these. Again, same deal, generator, RCS, ballast, electric charge, air intake, and liquid fuel. But what this one has that's different from the others is, well, one, on the back, we actually have ladders so that your Kerbals can get from the lower section to the top section without worrying about anything. And if we move this forward, it also has more ladders here so that if a Kerbal falls overboard, you can actually get him back onto the ship. The other two did not have these. Now, as for the hatch here, it does open up just like the others. We've got a different interior, but same lights. And as you can see here, we also have lights on the ladders, which is always good. But my favorite, though, is what you may have seen up here. We have a hatch which can open up, and you can use for, I don't know, launching some nuclear missiles at the space center. Whatever you desire, that can be used for a whole lot of things, and it's fun. Now, the next hull that we have is an interesting one, the Zoom hull long. Now, this baby, okay, let's zoom out and kind of carry this thing forward a bit. It has the same ladders, which is always very useful. The door opens up a bit differently on this one. If we open the bay door, you see it opens from the bottom. And this interior section is a lot deeper. And that's, I think, what it means by the long on this. This interior section goes back a lot further than on the other ships. And so perhaps, you know, have a plane in the back, and this may very well be a suitable runway for them to take off. Now, if we hit on the last one here, or the last of this hull variety, we have the Zoom hull wide and long. And it's just like the previous one with all the same sort of deals of the ladders, the open bay, except this one not only goes back deep, but as you can see, this is a much wider of a hull in general, so you can fit a much bigger plane on the inside of this thing. And that That is just fun, but that's not all we have for hulls. These are fun and cool, and I quite like the designs of these, especially the VLS one here, as I said, is my favorite. But if you'd like to do more with the interior customization, we have two more hull designs up here. We have the Hull 8 utility hull, which, if we zoom out, you can see is, pretty basic ship design, but it's completely hollow on the interior. And as you can see, if we click here, that we have attachment nodes sort of midway up the interior and then all the way up at the top, so we can attach, basically creating two different levels of interior to the ship by using these deck plates here. So like this Hull 8 Deck 2, you just find an attachment point, and there we go, you have a mid-deck. You want to do the stairs in the aft, or, well, anywhere really that you desire, bam, there we go. It fits into the Hull 8 design, and you can use these different hull decks, so the Hull 8 Deck 2 4, the Hull 8 Deck 2 stair aft, Hull 8 Deck 2 main, and then the Hull deck top main, to your heart's content to just build however you want this thing. And it's quite nice. I like it overall. It gives you a lot more options. Now, you don't have to use these pieces as they are advertised. You can just mix and match however you like. Now let's hit new again and go to the last hull design, which is the Hull 7 flare bow, which is a bit more, well, flared. It's not as rigidly designed as the others. I do like the, well, flared bow. That is kind of the whole point of the name there that we have in the front. Very cool indeed. And again, a hollow interior to this with those same attachment points sort of in the mid and at the top. And we have these four hull deck pieces to use for that. So we have the 8-7 short deck mid, which of course is meant to sort of go there. The aft version, which there. The bow version there. Ish. Come on. Oh, that's a little bit off, but oh well, attachment points. And then finally the H7 main, which goes right there. Excellent. And again, can be mixed and matched in any way you desire to create your own custom interior to this boat. And that is just fun. I do enjoy that. Now let's actually just keep this baby out, and actually no. Let's go down to one of these hulls down here. Like I said, I just like these more. Alright, let's lower this baby down for attaching other things to, and we'll just start back up at the top and work our way down. Now, of course, engines, etc. will need things like air intake, and we have two very fun air intake masts here, and basically they differ in their size. We have the air intake mast, which is a reaction wheel, air intake, and then we have the number 2 version, which as you can see is freaking gigantic compared to the smaller one. Now, they do have some attachment points on them that can fit like radial things here. Actually, I was incorrect about the attachment points. I was thinking of the various masts we have down here, but you can still, of course, attach other items to them, anything that can be done radially. So there we go. Those are the air intakes. We do then have a small antenna that rotates right here. Oh, Lord. Oh, we actually are going to have to zoom in for this one here. And let's try and actually... Oh, there we go. Tiny antenna. We can extend, bam, there you go, small little antenna. We then have a ballast tank, which the ballast are quite useful because it does help you with the weight of your ship, because sometimes the ocean out there gets pretty bouncy, and, well, you're going to want the ship to be a bit heavier, and of course, if you want to make your own custom submarine, you can always use the ballast there too to actually sink yourself down. And these ballasts work by having two different generators, one that basically intakes stuff, one that expels it, and the ballast total at 2,000 there to make your ship heavier or lighter depending. We then have a radar, which I need to mention something about this radar here, because we have several other radars. These are BD Armory compatible, so if you have BD Armory installed, they will function as a BD Armory radar. So that is a good little bit of information to know. I do not have BD radar installed, or BD Armory installed though, so it's just a set piece for me, but if you do have that, you can enjoy it with your weaponry. Now the next part we have here are Bullards. Now these are just completely decorative, but hey, that's never stopped anyone from using anything in this game. We then have a number of different masts with nav lights. So there, we got more down here. The first one is the comms mast with nav lights, and if we just pop that right there, excellent. It's actually kind of going through the side, I think. Nope, that is the right one. I forget because they're all different sizes here. And these are the ones that I was thinking of earlier that have the different attachment points. As you can see, we have them on the sides there, on the front. This one does have nav lights. It has a companion one without nav lights, so you can see we don't have those lights on the side. And they're just good for attaching things like the radars too. The next bit we have is crew accommodation, and this is actually quite cool as it is, well, accommodation for your crew, and it has actual interior rooms. We can open up this one door to see inside, and your Kerbals actually sit in the little chair here and, you know, sit in their nice little room. And it's just a nice little extra bit of thing to have. Now, it also does have some other things to it. Well, one thing to it. It has a science lab. Oh, and of course a generator and electric charge. All good things. The next thing we have is just an exterior hatch that you can attach to anything on here, so you have a hatch to get some Kerbals out from. We then also have a green emissive nav light, and actually while we're talking about the nav light, there is another one here that is in a red color and one that is in a white color. And these are just cool little lights to attach anywhere to add in a bit more color to things and make your ship easier to see. So there we go. Let's just chuck those out of the way. They are done with. We then already went through these different hull pieces here for the main ship's designs, and then we have anchors. Now you'll notice these have the KAS, or Kerbal Attachment System, on the front, and that's because they are Kerbal Attachment System compatible. So you can actually, say, attach these things to a winch, and then use the said winch to actually, you know, drop this baby into the sea. There we go. We have an anchor there. We have that anchor there. We have that anchor there, and this anchor right here. Excellent, there they all are, and again, just very cool to have as an option, so you can use them with the Kerbal Attachment System, and they actually become physically workable anchors. You lower them in a winch and everything. It is quite cool. The next we have is another radar dome here. Again, if you do have BD Armory installed, it will function as a BD Armory radar. We then have another antenna, which, oh boy, how am I gonna get it? There we go. Oh, zoom in and extend. Yeah, kind of hard to see there with its angling, but it's a small antenna. What else are you gonna really expect from that? There we go. We then have a marine sensor pack, which as you can see has the basic experiments of gravity, temperature, seismic, and pressure, and it's just a nice little experimentation package you can put anywhere on the ship, very convenient for sailing around the seas collecting data. We then have a number of different command bridges, the first one here being the Pod Type 1, which needs a minimum of 1 crew, holds max of 4. It'll have a generator for creating liquid fuel and electric charge, which is a little cheaty in my opinion, but you know what, it works. It also has the generators for ballast, so you can make the ship overall heavier, reaction wheel, and SAS, and it's the same deal on the other command pod / bridges, so we won't go through all of those, but if we do zoom out, there we go, we have that command pod type 1, then pull out the pod type 2, excellent, just a bit smaller. As you can see, they have some outdoor areas, so the Kerbals can come out of these hatches, and you're good to go. We then have the pod type 3, which, oh, no, hold on. There we go, excellent, which I think is my favorite. I don't know, I just like the slanted design of it, plus the fact that it has more attachment points up top is always convenient. We then have the type 4, which is just a bigger, more impressive version of this one with some stairs, some nice little slats going through there. Always good. And then finally, the Command Pod Type 5, which is gigantic. Freaking gigantic. And I love this whole little bit up at the top. Your Kerbals can walk around and enjoy the view. It is pretty cool. And what's best is each of these has an interior we'll go through in a little while. So let's chuck all these babies off because, well, we don't need them anymore. And then down to the next piece, we have the Marine Trim Plane, which is just a control surface for underwater so that you can, better control your ship. We have another one I'll just go ahead and grab right now, which is the Square Wing. Again, a lovely little control surface for the water so that, you can actually control your vessel. Very cool. We then have more of these masts. We have the Mast 6 Bear, which, there we go, is quite nice. We then have the Mast 6 Base, which does have a reaction wheel on it. We then have the Mast 6 Tower. Excellent. There we go. The Mast 6 Tower Tall. There we are. So even bigger than its cousin. We then have a Nav Mast Bear. Oh boy, we got a lot of these things. As you can see, we have attachment points on that one. The Nav Mast Rith with nav lights. Oh god, the names on all these are going to get to me. There we go. We have more, guys. We have more. And then the Raked Nav Mast. And there we are. Very nice little swept back design. Has a cool ladder there. And then another one with nav lights. So there we are. All of these lovely additional masts compared to the ones we already had up top. We then also have a lovely microwave antenna, which is a good data transmitter. You can pop it onto any of these things or put it anywhere else on the ship. Very good design to it. We then have another radar, which is a horizon peaking one, which is very, very interesting. If we pop it here, it can actually elevate, and it goes really high. In fact, too high. I can't look at the very top of it. You'll see it outside, though. It's just a giant telescoping radar. That's kind of cool. I like it. And then we're back to the Latlai, which we already looked at. We then have our first engine that we can get to, and that's the Reverser 2. A pretty decent engine with 69 kilonewtons thrust in atmosphere, 80 vacuum, though that's not really meant for space, so gimbals at 20 degrees, so you get some good control out of it. And yes, uses liquid fuel and electric charge. Very handy. We then have another ballast in here. This is the Super Sinker Small. And this thing is big. It's a really big part, as you can see right there. Kind of hard to show off. Oh, come on. There we go. There's some placement. And yeah, it's just a giant freaking ballast to add weight. We then have a radially attachable ballast, which you can see right there. Let's actually get it in a slightly better view spot. There we go, just another ballast to use, always handy. We then have, of course, the front of the ships are kind of lonely places with not a whole lot of love so far. That's where we have two different spray brakes. So we have the Spray Brake 2 Large, which you can kind of put up there, always nice. And the Spray Brake 1, which is cool. I like both of these. They are very handy, very nice, just beautiful little things. The Square Wing we've already done. We have our next engine, which this one, I think this one's broken at the moment. I think the mod maker missed a decimal place because, as you can see, the max thrust on this thing is 5,375,000 kilonewtons. I think there's a decimal in the wrong place, and same with the propellant. It's using like 3,000 liquid fuel per second almost, so maybe don't use this. I tried using it earlier and it exploded the runway. It's that powerful. Yes, that was fun, but hopefully in the future it will be a nice engine, as of course it is a nice looking propeller. We then do have a just random deck area that's always good for a little bit of a design view of things. Very nice. I do enjoy it. We then have two more engines, the Z-Drive nozzle, which, as you can see right there, cool big engine, and we have its big brother, which is the Z-Drive nozzle Type 2. Now, both of these will use electric charged liquid fuel and air intake. The smaller one produces 909 kilonewtons in atmosphere, the bigger one 909 as well. But for some reason, this one uses more fuel, the Type 2. Again, I don't think the engines are quite done yet, but overall, they work. So And yes, that's all the parts. It only took us, oh god, too long, frankly. But it would have taken us a hell of a lot longer if we would have gone through all the stats individually. So I have a quick little ship here for interiors, and I forgot to fill it full of Kerbals. Oh lord, okay, hold on. Yes, my wonderfully designed ship there. That is just horrifying. Let's revert flight back to the spaceplane hangar, fill it full of Kerbals, and then go back so we can actually see all the bits and bobs of the interior. Do we have them all filled? Excellent. Perfect. Now we launch. And now you can actually see all the glorious insides. Now again, not all of them seem to be complete. This does seem to be very much still a work in progress, but I like where it's at now. So let's start with the first one here. This is the small, just sort of one-story interior bit of command pod where we have 4 seats, of course, going across for our Kerbals. There we go, just 4 different views. We then have the one above it, which is basically the next step up, the Pod 2 or whatever it is. Again, not exactly the fanciest of interiors, but it works. Let's go through 2, 3, 4. The next one is, one of my favorite bridges. I just like the angles on it. Not many Kerbals inside here, but good to have. And then we have the next angled one, just a bit taller a version of it. And then we have this hole. Oh god, which one's this one? Oh, this is the big one with the balcony on the outside, or whatever that's actually properly called. Big windows, big thing. But yeah, so there we go, 4 Kerbals in this one. And then we have the interior rooms. Oh, I love these things. Got a little bed in there. So this is the crew quarters. They got a little laptop. Nice. And of course we have 3 of those rather. And yes, those are the interiors. So basically the first one was this small one, the command type 2. Then we had the command type 1. Then it was the 3, the 4, and the 5. And then finally the crew accommodations. So yes, that is the interiors. Now let's actually head to the Space Center and take a look at a completed, finished boat. Which is, I mean, it's kind of completed and finished because, well, it's what I threw together with my limited inspiration at the moment before, making the video. Oh god, please don't explode like the last mod. Oh, it exploded like the last mod. Why does this keep happening with boats to me? I test these things. I test these things for at least an hour before I make the video, making sure everything's good. And they explode. And only when I make the video. I've gone back to that one several times. Clear the runway. Okay, yes, let's just launch another one. Which I conveniently named Ship. How original. Alright, let's do that. And we'll put this thing far out to sea with, of course, Hyper Edit. Good old glorious Hyper Edit. Alright, ship lander. Set from here. We'll start from 10. We'll add, I think the other one's at 6. We'll go 7. And 3, 2, 1, launch. There we are. We're in space briefly. And now we're out on the water. Okay, and there's our other ship. Lovely. We have made it. We are good to go. And you can hear a light buzzing. That is our engine down here, which you can already hear spinning. I should mention that to get the sound working, you need the Fire Spitter plug-in. Without Fire Spitter, you get no sound, which is just awkward, not having any sound for your engine. Other than that, really no things you have to go and find yourself. But yes, here is my lovely, crappy little ship. We have the weird, oddly telescoping radar thing. It's really tall. Really tall. Hey, if that's your thing, though, that's your thing. And yeah, just a small little ship I threw together pretty quickly with some ballast here, just to show off, the possibilities of what you could do. And of course, as I said, I love this one because it has the cool hatch. Oh, it's fun. And of course, the bay door here. Now, I didn't build anything on the interior, mainly because I realized after I had built the boat and thought about it, I realized that I kind of put this this weird deck piece in a poor spot. because it has a railing right there now, so if I put anything in there, it would explode. Now, of course, we also have some ballast in here, which is useful. Now, the reason I have that is because, well, we're sitting quite nicely right now, but on occasion, after you've actually traveled for a bit with the engine, so if we speed up just a little bit, occasionally I find my boat bouncing up and down after I've been driving for a while, or sailing rather, that's far better of a word. And so I add the ballast so that I can actually weigh the ship down a bit more so that it's, you know, not so bouncy. I mean, we're not going very fast, only about 12 meters per second there. Let's go all the way. This engine's actually pretty powerful down here, so it can actually get pretty fast. And you can see we got the nice little effects there. I wish I'd have some splashing effects along the hull, but oh well, you can't have everything, now can you? Now, of course, we do have some control surfaces down at the bottom. I should probably slow down. We probably shouldn't be going 30 meters per second on water. Like I said, this engine is pretty powerful. For this just one engine for this boat. And up there we go. We're starting to bounce, as you can see there. And if I do add some ballast, it tends to solve that problem, though sometimes it makes it worse. So I actually added the ballast to command group, so I can do that. Oh, God, I've put too much in. Okay, let's just put just a little bit in. There we go. There we go. So we sit a little bit lower. Oh, I think I've made it worse. And of course, I can release the ballast with my other action group whenever I so desire. Or, you know, if I just want to end it all, we can just sink the vessel. As it's... Oh, wow, no, those actually just broke apart. I'll be darned, look at that. Their attachment to the ship wasn't strong enough for them to actually stay attached when they got heavier. Impressive. I hadn't actually tried that before, but theoretically we could actually sink this ship if we want, as there are other ballast options, including on here. We could turn on this generator and that would start adding ballast into the command pod, which would probably be a bad idea for us. Oh, those things, did they make it safely to the bottom? I'll be darned, I think they did. But yes, here is our lovely boat. Again, not exactly the best boat in the world, but it was made pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm sure you guys could make a boat that is far more impressive than this, and I definitely think you should give it a try at least, as it is fun. I mean, who doesn't like building ships? It's just entertaining and an odd fun thing to do in this game. So if you'd like to give this a go for yourself, and I definitely say to give it a try, you can take a look at the link in the description as always. And yeah, have some fun with it, build some ships. If you make anything cool, send me a picture, tweet me, Facebook me, whatever. I would love to see your creations. And yeah, that is going to be it for today though, my friends. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next episode. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one. Now it's time to sail around the world and see what all we can find. Later, folks.